A good day round for all round for everyone. I thought we turned out very well against a brand new Charlotte group. Looked bright, looked physically in a good place, and ultimately I felt, for the most part, with a stronger group, which is always nice to see in pre-season. Everyone came through it in good health, and the majority of players got a very good 45 minutes in. Goals for CJ and for Teal, 2 assists for Aki. Some very bright moments and a lot of encouragement.
Thank you, Coach. We will start with Ben Wright, and then we will go to Drake Hills. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, Gary, just kind of logistically, since we didn't really get to see it, I'm just kind of curious about that front three. Last year, it felt like it was mostly Hani and CJ with Randall underneath. Was that kind of the same shape you used today? And what did you make of their performance?
Yeah, no, it's slightly different today. And I think the difference this year to maybe the last couple is that, we do have some foundations to work with now, and a lot of good pieces of the puzzle. Always room for improvement, but the group, from an attacking standpoint today, was CJ through the middle with Hani and Aki as more withdrawn strikers, and it did create a slightly different look. Whilst it gives us a more aggressive feel and some very bright moments for sure, there are some things that we have to work through if that's going to be a more a future shape and bodies that are going to be used more often, which, looking out there today, shouldn't be too difficult to correct. However, when you become stronger in one area, there's a chance that you become a little bit weaker in another, and it's those areas that we just got to be mindful of. But on today's performance, as I said, lots of encouragement. We're working through this with the bodies. It's not to say that, the likes of Randall, who played in the second group, and Dax, who played in the second group, and Teal and Alex, what we've got is a much stronger group. We've got guys that have done a wonderful job for this team, and guys that have come in and made this group stronger. So there's a lot of choice, and I think it's created far more competition. And today we saw a very sharp 45 minutes from that opening group, and to a large degree we're very dominant.
Thank you, Coach. Next we'll go to Drake Hills from the Tennessee. Go ahead, Drake.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Hey, Gary, just wanted to talk to you about Aki. You mentioned the 2 assists there. You said coming into this preseason that Aki was much fitter, he was much sharper, and that the next part for him, the next goal, was to start finding that form. What about the 2 assists matches to that in your eyes? And looking big picture, what did he do in the total 45 that perhaps advanced him to where you expect him to go this preseason and going into the beginning of the season?
I think first and foremost, the fitness side of things gives any player a much stronger foundation to feel confident and go on and try and replicate runs beyond, moves behind, connections, recoveries. When you're not in that place, you start to select. Well, I will go now and I won't go then. And you don't always make the right choices. So initially, and first and foremost, we've now got a player who I think in the off season has worked very, very hard. He's come back in great shape, and you can see that in the games. As far as the connections, his assists, it wasn't just the assists. He actually worked 2 or 3 other fantastic opportunities. Could have had a goal himself and was very unselfish and tried to square it. I don't think it would be wrong of me to say that it's probably his brightest 45 minutes that I've seen. And I think if we look back as far as, Cincinnati, when he scored and made a wonderful impact in the game, this was this was more like the Aki that we all expected. And now it's time for some consistency, to keep working at that, to keep layering that information and connection into hopefully, what he's going to be able to do for the group. There's no doubt about it. On today's performance, there was a serious goal threat and creative threat. And I think we'd all love to see that more often. Still a work in progress within the group and the position he's playing in, but some very, very encouraging and exciting signs today.
Tim Sullivan, you're on with Coach Gary Smith. Go ahead, Tim.
Since we weren't able to see, can you, with your lovely prose, paint a picture for us of each of your 3 goals so we kind of have an idea of how they came about and what they looked like?
Right. I'm trying to think. Yeah, goal number 1, work down the left-hand side. I think it was we'd built some reasonable pressure and a good control. And he actually made a nice little movement into the pocket and played a ball into Aki's feet in and around the edge of the box. Now, from this point, only Aki can tell you what happened next, because it looked to me like he tried to turn, a touch between his legs and swivel and get a shot on it if he could have done, but his touch was heavy. And CJ was very tight to him coming in behind him, and he smashed it into the roof of the net from about, I would say, 16, 17 yards out, maybe on the edge of the box. Now, I'm sure Aki will say, no, I knew he was there, and it was a deft touch into his stride. And for me, that would be good enough. I'd say that connection's growing. Number 2, I'm trying to think, was it Aki supplied? Yeah, Aki broke down the left-hand side. He was played in between, I think it was fullback or wing-back and centre-back. Did ever so well, faced up with the defender. Some really nice deception. Looked like he got by him with ease, and whipped a very nice ball towards the edge of the 6-yard box. I've seen it in slow motion, and the defender does a good job to block out the near post. And I think CJ feels the pressure, and he actually, instead of making really heavy contact, he just side foots it on a slight angle towards the back post. It's almost, just a deft touch. Really nice finish. The 3rd goal was after a period of pressure that Charlotte had in the second half. They actually started better than us and got themselves back into the game with a nice free kick. And the 3rd goal was, there was a little bit of a connection down the right-hand side. Luke actually looked to take on the defender. It actually ricocheted back behind him into Alex Mule's path, who then tried to work a crossing, and it caught the defender's foot and just sort of spiraled up in the air towards the sort of between 6-yard and 18-yard box. And again, in slow motion, Till does ever so well. He just pushes his hips into the centre back, and the spin on the ball takes it inside, and he pivots, swivels, and hits it full power into the near post, and no chance for the goalkeeper from about 12 yards out. A very nice strike, very well controlled, and showed a lot of experience in just leaning into the defender. So, I mean, look, there were other really nice opportunities. Ham Waller managed to work a header into the ground from 6 yards out that spiraled over the bar. Don't know how he did that. Aki actually had what looked like a slight angle, one-on-one with the goalkeeper, who was quite deep, and he tried to square it, and the defender just got a foot on it. Alex Mule had a great header at the back post, that the goalkeeper made a really good save at the near post. And I'm probably missing 1 or 2. There were some real nice opportunities, and a very decent game. A good step forward, and some nice foundations put in place.
Thank you, Coach. Next, we'll go to Ben Wright. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, Gary, we saw Josh start with that first half group. What did you make of his performance? And does him starting with that group, is that a reflection of just what the work he's done in preseason and kind of where he stands?
Yeah, well, listen, we're back to that. If I'm going to try a couple of things, I've got to do it now. Josh has had a wonderful 2 weeks since he's come into the club. He's made a very, very nice impression. Looks like his year in USL has done him the world of good. I remember looking at him as a college player, and there were some concerns, but he's cut his teeth in the pro world. He's fitted into the group nicely, great attitude, bit of an all-rounder, good defender, decent in the air. His distances when he's defending 1v1 are good. He's decent on the ball. And I actually wanted to put him next to Walker. I know that a lot of the work that he's produced has not been under too much pressure. I wanted him out there from the start to see how he would handle it. And I knew that if he was next to Walker, he'd realise that, hold on a minute, this is a little bit different. And whilst you could see a few little signs of, he certainly didn't affect his game. His distribution was good. When called upon, he defended well. This is no slight on the other guys that, Jack and Rob and Eric, who played as a wing back today. No slight on them at all. But, there will be one or two little changes as I try and work out the best lineup for that opening fixture in Seattle.
Drake Hills.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not sure about the rest of the guys on the call, but there was a little bit of a glitch there on what you said about Josh. I just wanted to know one of those couple of things that you said were a little bit concerning to you for Josh during the game today, and then secondly, when you take a look at not necessarily focusing on Charlotte and how you guys played against them, but obviously looking at what you guys want to do, especially for the next friendly. What do you have any concerns about the team as a whole and how you guys performed throughout the game?
Yeah, I, as far as Josh goes, there were no real concerns, Drake. I wanted to try and I need to try and up the ante for the lad. He's come in and made a great impression, and I've got to try and push the boundaries a little bit here. And it's difficult without any fans. The litmus test is obviously in front of 20, 30, 40,000 people. Can you hold yourself together? Can you be as reliable as he has been under that sort of duress? I knew that Walker would add some pressure. For me, certainly the best centre back in MLS, has been absolutely terrific in the games that he's played for the US just recently, and I think Josh will have felt that and known that. And like I said, no slight on the other boys, but I just needed to see him under a little bit more pressure. And he dealt with it very, very well. Was delighted with the outcome. As far as any concerns moving forward, I think there's some work to be done with a more attacking looking front three. I've got to decide as we get towards Seattle, is that going to be the right move up there? They keep playing the way they did today, I won't have any choice because they look bright. We've scored 3 goals. We've still looked incredibly sound. I think Charlotte had one shot in the first half. I don't remember it, but they did have a shot, I was told. That has been a feature of our group, and it's gonna need to be seen, more and more in these opening 8 games of the season away from home. But there's no reason why we can't have the attacking lineup we had on the field and still get the same type of job done. We need to be more of an attacking threat and continue to show that consistency. Like I said, Aki's performance, CJ and Hani have got tremendous equity in the group because of their season last year, and Aki's 45 minutes today really is something for him to build on, and certainly for the group a huge boost in confidence. He looked really threatening, and I think for most people we're very, very pleased to see the type of display that we saw from him today.
We'll wrap up today's session with Coach Smith with Tim Sullivan. Go ahead, Tim.
You mentioned last week that you had all the data from your guys who are away on international duty. Seeing them in person, how have they looked? How did they look in the scrimmage today? And then for Anibal specifically, how was his chemistry starting in the middle with Sean Davis?
The guys that have come back, only really Randall will have been was a concern, given he had a bit of a gastric problem for 4 or 5 days and missed the competition games. But he'd been in camp for a good while. You could tell through his testing and the way that he performed today for 45 minutes that he's in good shape and he's not really lost too much ground, which is great. So for that reason alone, we don't have any players that are lagging behind physically. Walker and Annabelle didn't miss a beat, and it looked a really nice combination in there with Sean. I wanted to quickly see what it looked like. Dax played as more of a front screen in what could be classed as a back 4 into a back 5 under pressure, which his experience, is terrific to have in those situations. It gives us a completely different dimension. And as that second half wore on, it looked better and better. Early on, there was a little bit of sort of feeling our way. And I think maybe the conditions had not helped the guys sitting on the bench. They looked a little bit sluggish coming into that second period. But slowly but surely, we started to turn the screw a little bit and finished off nice and strong. But as far as Sean and Annabelle, it, as you might have imagined, with 2 very experienced players, not a problem. In fact, look great. And, Sean's been a terrific addition, as I've said before, on and off the field.
Yeah, what's up, Walker? Just wanted to chat with you about Josh Bauer. I mean, obviously he's a guy who's coming in, new to the crew, but Asher did him well. Apparently, Gary Smith said that a year with Atlanta and USL did him well, and he's been able to adjust. Starting with you today in the game, I'm curious to know what you saw in him, what you noticed, just as a fellow center back, and how he performed in his first opportunity.
It's been great getting to know Josh. Short time, obviously only a day or 2 together. But I got to watch the Memphis game, got to obviously play alongside him today, and really impressed. He's a guy who has a lot of physical tools, a lot of aggression, very good in the air, very strong, solid on the ball. So it was nice. It was nice being able to develop some chemistry with him. I did really well as a side center back, driving forward, taking space, and looking to find some passes through the lines. So he had a great outing for 45 minutes, and looking forward to watching him develop and hopefully getting to continue playing with him and know him a little bit more.
Next, we'll go to Tim Sullivan with For Club and Country. Go ahead, Tim.
Walker, welcome back. I hope you're thawed out after Minneapolis. But coming into camp a little bit late, what do you see maybe that you didn't expect from some of the guys who have improved over the first week and a half of camp that you didn't get a chance to experience firsthand? Or is there anybody that kind of popped off the screen to you?
Still pretty early, only having the one training session yesterday and the game today. I thought Luke Hawkinson has done a really good job from what I saw in the scrimmage in the second half and from training yesterday. So he's a guy that looks fit and informed. Everyone really looks fit. I mean, to be honest, I'm glad that I did get to miss out on some of the dog days in IMG. I hear that it was quite the workload. So in that way, the team looked really good, really strong physically. Everyone looked pretty sharp in terms of their fitness. So when you check that off the box early, it allows you to now start progressing in the second phase of preseason to developing, more tactically, more technically, some of the ideas that you want to have this season. So really excited to get going with that part.
Next, we'll go to Ben Wright with Broadway Sports Media. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, Walker, do you feel like after being in camp with the U.S. for a big chunk of the offseason and then playing in competitive World Cup qualifiers, do you feel like you kind of have a leg up on coming into preseason as far as fitness and sharpness goes?
100%, for sure. This is probably the 3rd offseason in a row of less than, 8 or 9 days off for me. So it's kind of just been a continuous journey over the past couple of years, not much time off, keep my fitness at a good level, and then certainly having competitive games for the guys that were at the qualifiers. We certainly should be, a leg up on everyone else at this point in the year. So now it's just about getting readjusted, reacquainted with everyone, reacquainted with the style of play and your teammates on and off the field, and making sure that we're all a well-oiled machine heading into February.
We'll circle back to Tim Sullivan. Go ahead, Tim.
From the scrimmage today or the friendly today, what was kind of the thing that encouraged you most going into this regular season? And was there anything that you're like, okay, we need to continue to work on that over the next 2-3 weeks?
I think our mentality of coming out, and I mean, to be honest, I know you guys didn't get a stream of the game, but they didn't really create many chances at all. I thought that we were able to keep the ball. If they had possession, it was in their half, and we picked our moments very well to step forward aggressively. Anytime they played forward, side center backs releasing, midfielders getting out wide. I mean, guys did a really good job covering ground and making it very difficult for Charlotte to progress up the field. So in that aspect of winning the first ball and then getting the second ball and immediately transitioning forward, I thought we did a really good job. Things to work on, it was just a game that didn't require us to really build out as much. So I'm sure we'll still continue to work on that as we play in some more games, but really pleased with, capitalizing on some of our chances. It's not like we had a ton of chances, but to score 2 in the first 45 off of some limited chances was a good sign as well.
Go to Ben Wright. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, Gary talked a little bit about just kind of the different look from the front three, and just some of the things he thinks you need to work on just as far as defending with that shape. What was your take on that, and how do you feel like you guys defended?
Yeah, I think he introduced. I don't know how much they covered on that actually in IMG the first go round. We worked on it some yesterday, trying to figure out how those front three are going to move based on what the opponent is doing, and so certainly there are going to be some adjustments, some analysis, and some further tweaking to kind of get all of that well understood, well drilled. I thought it was fine. I think it's just the nature of the game was they were dropping their 6 in between their 2 center backs, trying to create, a numerical advantage in the back. And sure, they had the ball going across the back line, but I think we did a good job of when they tried to force it up the field, that's where we won it. So it was a difficult task for the front three, granted that they were usually outnumbered between having low fullbacks and the 6 dropping in between the center backs. But, I think they did a good job of containing, and then in transition was when we won the ball, they did a great job of being in good spots to go forward.
Tim Sullivan, go ahead.
I know there's kind of low trials in an individual game in terms of set pieces, but it was something that you guys struggled with this year. Do you feel like you are kind of on the right path to figuring it out and getting it back to where you guys were in the inaugural year here?
We definitely switched how we defended late in the year last year, and it looks like we're going to be starting in a similar way this year in terms of the depth of the line and our approach to handling those situations, whether it's corners or wide free kicks. I'm sure, again, as the games continue in preseason, maybe we tweak a thing here or there, but I think we know the importance of set pieces, and we have had meetings about how many were conceded relative to our total goals allowed. So it's a focal point for sure, because if we can eliminate that, cut that to even a league average, then you're talking about some historic numbers from a defensive standpoint. So high priority for us, and we'll definitely keep ironing them out next couple of weeks.
Ben Wright, you're on Walker Zimmerman. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, I think I asked you something similar last year, but just kind of from an individual perspective, what are some of your goals for this upcoming season? And are there any kind of aspects of your game that you're specifically looking to build on or improve?
I think, first and foremost, want to win a trophy here. Want to bring some silverware back to the club. That's probably goal number one. On a personal level, at the club level, it's always for me, I expect myself to be in the conversation for individual awards. So Defender of the Year, I want it again, no question about it. That's a goal. All-Star, that's a goal for sure. All those awards I'm going to chase every single year. And on the national side, it's obviously qualification and World Cup. So it's a big year. It's kind of a year where a lot of those goals that I've had from, prior to being a pro, it's the chance, this is the chance to make those dreams come true, make those goals come true. And so it's kind of full focus ahead. It's been ever since coming to Nashville, I've been very locked in on just doing things the right way and trying to show up every day and get better. And that's the only way that these goals are going to be achieved. So ready to attack it, ready to have a big year, and certainly have high expectations for myself and this team.